Charli and Dixie D'Amelio explain why they freaked out after meeting David Dobrik on his podcast, Views. We'll fill you in on what was talked about and why Charli and Dixie were so nervous to be a part of the show. I'm Kelsey MacDonald and you're watching The Daily Report. Happy Thursday! I got it right this time. I'm on the right day of the week. Finally. Two worlds collided yesterday after TikTok stars Charli and Dixie D'Amelio made an appearance on YouTuber David Dobrik's podcast, Views. Charli and Dixie are obviously hugely famous on TikTok, and David is one of the most successful YouTubers out there. So it was so interesting to see these three all together. Also, it's about time. How has this never happened yet? Well, the times we're in don't help. The sisters were actually super nervous to be on the show, even though they had met David once before. At the start of the podcast, you can see how visibly shaken the girls are. And David says, quote, "These two walked in here so nervous, they still kind of are, but you walked in here, didn't make a single sound, why?" Dixie and Charli both laughed at the comment and went on to tell David that they are huge fans of his. When I say huge, I mean like massive. The night before the podcast, David group FaceTimed Charli and Dixie, and as soon as the three of them got off the call, Dixie and Charli FaceTimed each other and freaked out, understandably. Dixie said to David, quote, "We've both met you before, but we're freaking out. You're David Dobrik." I don't think David Dobrik knows that he's David Dobrik. Charli added that they grew up watching him. She said, quote, "I watched you every day before school. I've seen all of your vlogs." David was shocked and told the girls, quote, "That's the sweetest thing. I just can't wrap my head around it." David brought up the first time that he met Dixie and Charli. They met him with fellow TikTok star Addison Rae, and right after their encounter, Dixie and Addison ran straight to the bathroom and freaked out. Dixie told David, quote, "I didn't know how to act. I was absolutely losing my mind. I was freaking out." Dixie said they never told David about their panic attack in the bathroom because they were super embarrassed. Look, I'd have a panic attack too if I met David. He's literally the biggest YouTuber in the world. After the girls relaxed a bit on the podcast, Charli and Dixie talked about their schooling. Dixie graduated high school, but Charli is still in school, and obviously it's all online at the moment. Charli talked about how she is taking 6 classes a day, plus she has a full-time job. That sounds exhausting. She also said that she has to take a PE class over Zoom. What? Charli goes on to say that no one actually watches her do any type of workouts, but she has requirements she has to meet for the class. Honestly, I would probably lie and be like, "Oh yeah, of course I did the 50 push-ups and 100 sit-ups you asked me to do." David went on to ask the girls about the craziest way they've ever made money. He started the segment telling Charli and Dixie, quote, "I got a call once and this kid was having a 16th birthday party. And this guy's like, 'Hey, this family wants you out there. They've got $10,000 in cash. Can you just show up?' And I was like, yeah." David revealed that just as he was about to leave the party, about an hour and a half of being there, the kid's dad came up to him and offered him more money to stay longer. Altogether, David ended up making $24,000 in one night. That's insane. Anybody want me to show up at their party? I'm here, I'm available. He said it was the craziest paycheck he's ever gotten for something so simple. Charli and Dixie shared their bizarre story on how they got money after rising to fame. Charli told David that she was offered an undisclosed amount of money to do a FaceTime call with some kids, but she turned it down because she wasn't comfortable taking someone's money if she didn't get to meet the kids in person. But in a random turn of events, Charli and Dixie actually ended up running into the family one day, and Charli said, quote, "The dad was feeling very excited to just hand us stacks of cash." She said that they actually ended up going to the family's hotel room with their mom to meet the family and received a big paycheck in return. Charli didn't reveal how much they made from the encounter, but she did say it was a lot. A lot in all caps. David then went on to talk about how he remembers when the girls first started blowing up on TikTok, and when fans would meet them out in the real world, they wouldn't just ask for a picture, they would ask to do a TikTok. David asked Charli how she deals with it, and she said, quote, "Well, that's how I was able to get where I am, so it's like, what are you gonna do, say no?" Very true. Charli has been a huge fan of David for so long, and she actually went to watch David's podcast live in New York a few years before she started TikTok. She told David that she had a shirt with his and co-host Jason Nash's face on it, and she actually wore it a bunch of times in some of her first TikToks. Charli said she never listened to the podcast, but just liked them so much and wanted to see them live. What an insanely small world we have. Who would have thought that all these years later, Charli would be on David's podcast? Gotta love how the world works sometimes. But now we want to know what you think. What would make you freak out more? Meaning David, Charli, or Dixie? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the AwesomenessTV Daily Report channel. And make sure to follow us at AwesomenessTV on Instagram for more. I'm Kelsey MacDonald. And what would freak me out more? Probably David, let's be honest. Like, to be on his podcast too, we can talk for hours. Like, hours. You know how much I can talk. I can keep going.